Emmanuel Macron has decided to blast it all out. Okay, I think there's a lot on the heart of Emmanuel Macron. So he was only looking for opportunity to let it out. And when he went to the France Afrique Summit, which is African Forward Summit, as they call it, Emmanuel Macron, had a side interview, and on that interview, I don't know, somehow, anyhow, the conversation centered on the Sahel, one way or the other. This meeting, they told us what the meeting is about. I don't understand how the meeting end up becoming the conversation, the center of the conversation in every case when Macron wants to speak is about the Sahel. Macron came there to pass a message, and they used the incident of 25th April as a base and foundation to pass their message. This particular interview that we are going to go through right now, let me make it clear to you before we move forward. Everything he said was politically framed. I use the word political deliberately because, those of you who do editing, you know how we mirror video and mirror, how do you call it, images, right? Yes. That is the image is the same image, but it is flipped. So everything he's saying here is politically framed. Now, he spoke, first of all, he lay 6 points, right? The first point he made was investment in Africa. According to Emmanuel Macron, he said European financial rules currently available, they are discouraging investment in Africa, and he wants reforms that can make it easier for investors to come and invest in Africa. And we are not talking about investors in Africa, but outside investors to come. And he proposed what he called guarantee mechanism. And this guarantee mechanism is to protect investors from losses. Listen to this.
The standards we put in place discourage many institutions from investing in the African continent, far too many, especially in the financial sector. So this is a reform I am calling for, particularly in Europe.
Shouldn't we complete this reform from 2019 to avoid...
Wait, but I'm answering your question, but it's to set things straight so as not to give the impression that I initiated all this. And third, I said that a guarantee mechanism needs to be established. It's one of the major advancements of this summit. It's a guarantee mechanism on the first losses to allow private investors to come to the African continent more, and also for African investors to invest in their continent, because it has been repeated, many invest elsewhere.
You watch that. He ended the speech by talking about African capitals leaving Africa. Let's put that aside, But when you look at the translation directly from what he just said right now, from the beginning, he's saying that Africa is risky, so investors are scarce to come in. So we need to protect them so that they can come. And he wants Europe to control how investment flows into Africa. When you look at the guarantee mechanism that Emmanuel Macron is talking about here, it's equal to Europe absorbing some risk. When Europe is able to absorb the risk, investors will feel safe, and then money will flow in. It's about protecting their interests, not us here. Because the question is, why does Africa need a guarantee, from outside, external guarantee to attract investment right here? If that happens, then who is in control of the conditions of that investment? They are in control. So it is the same control mechanism, but they are rebranding it. Now, he ended the conversation by saying that Africans invest repeatedly money outside their own continent, according to what he said. And to him, this needs to change. That part of the conversation is true, but incomplete, because African elites, they move money abroad. We talk about Europe, Dubai, etc. and co. He forgot to mention the capital flight caused by global system. He forgot to mention the tax haven that they have here. He forgot to also mention the foreign extraction of wealth, because, the statement is subtly shifting responsibility, trying to tell us that Africa's problem is Africans not investing in Africa. No, you need to add other things, foreign extraction and a whole lot of things. So France is practically shifting blame and then loading it on us. He spoke about the CFA franc. The CFA franc became a center of the conversation here, and Emmanuel Macron is shifting the conversation. Listen, Emmanuel Macron, according to him, he said France reformed the CFA franc system in 2019. They removed many controls. And according to him, after removing so many controls, African leaders, our leaders, they choose to keep the French guarantee. And it is now up to African leaders to decide their future or the future.
Nevertheless, on the reform of the CFA franc, which is a point that does not affect this part of Africa at all, but rather West Africa, I for once took my responsibilities. In 2019, in Côte d'Ivoire, I said, we are ready to lift all the rules of the game. And so we lifted all these registers of the game. They asked us to maintain the guarantee. What is the guarantee? It is what prevents the exchange rate from being completely floating. But all the reserve systems that existed have been lifted. And now it is up to the African leaders to take up this initiative again. I spoke a few weeks ago with President Ouattara in this regard, and he told me he was going to talk about it again. I know he spoke today to several presidents of the region who are not in the West African Economic and Monetary Union. What seems to me to be in the interest of West Africa today is to say, we stop with the name CFA franc. We leave the system and its constraints, but it's in their hands.
Still not the case.
I can't make the decision it's not me who manages the monetary policy of Senegal, of Côte d'Ivoire, or others.
Beautiful. Emmanuel Macron is telling you that France is no longer controlling this because Africans are now responsible now. It's so shifting responsibility. The reality, the whole thing is a bit complex, right? When you look at it, the CFA franc, as we are speaking right now, when he's making this statement, the CFA franc currently is still linked to the euro. France still play a guarantee role in this CFA franc thing. The guarantee is equal to direct influence of France and control of France in regards to the CFA franc. This is where Emmanuel Macron contradicted himself. He said, we give them freedom, all right? According to him, we give them the freedom to make the choice. But also, they ask us to keep the guarantee. That simply means that full independence hasn't actually happened. You didn't give them independence. You still locked them up. The system, as we're speaking, still tie West Africa to Europe directly. That is what we don't want. But they want to make it look like Africans are in charge right now. Everything is politically free. Now, number 4, he spoke about the anti-France, sentiment. They asked him about this anti-France sentiment. According to Emmanuel Macron, he doesn't see African youth rejecting France. According to Emmanuel Macron, African youths are not rejecting France. The claim is mostly the social media users, social media activists, foreign influencers, and especially he mentioned Russia, that they are the key players in all these things, making people believe that France sentiment is increasing on the continent of Africa. Let's listen to that.
But isn't it this that creates this rejection of France by this youth?
No, first I believe I don't see a rejection of France among the youth. I don't see it in any country. I walk around, I go running, I stroll, I see people, I go to a concert. I don't see rejection. There is sometimes on social networks among certain activists. No, but in West Africa, there is some. We have to be clear. In a part of the youth that is driven by certain activists who are sometimes listened to a lot, and when we also relay the narratives made by other powers, who are the true colonizers of the 21st century, and who are the Russians and others. So
the Russians and others coming in, according to Emmanuel Macron, they are the true colonizers of the 21st century. They are the one colonizing Africa. Does this look like colonization? Sherman is frustrated. Now, when we look at what Emmanuel Macron is saying, telling us that there is no anti-French sentiment, that this is unreal, it is, how do you call it, manipulated. The question is, Emmanuel Macron, how do we use this statement to dismiss the protests which happen in the Sahel countries all over? The people, majority of the people in the Sahel, each country, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, they protested against you. How did it just happen all over the whole continent right now? Majority of the people believe that, no, you are not welcome. How did it happen? You are trying to dismiss and then downplay this whole thing, but it cannot work, because at the end of the day, the truth of the matter is that we saw protest after protest, people on radio stations and TVs. These days, your past is coming back to haunt you. That is what is going on. So this is practically a strategic narrative that he's driving. He is shifting blame to external actors like Russia, and he is avoiding to address the colonial legacy, their military presence, and their economic control and military control, together with the economic control on the continent of Africa. That is exactly what Emmanuel Macron is saying. He's doing. He doesn't want to accept responsibility. Now, number 5, he decided to shift blame to African leaders. Listen to what he said. He said, they put everything on the table African leaders must decide now. Listen.
And others. But when we set the facts straight, which we must do, there is no reason not to like France today. But what I want to say about monetary policy to fully answer is that it is up to the leaders of West Africa to decide. I told them, everything is on the table. I have taken all the responsibilities. As for us, I asked Mr. Severino, in whom I have great confidence, to go see these leaders to restore momentum. In the meantime, to their credit, there was COVID, there was the war in Ukraine with the consequences of many things. So now I really expect them to go all the way to change the name. Their interest, I believe, is truly to have greater regional, monetary and commercial integration, and for it to be as broad as possible to cover the maximum number of ECOWAS countries. Because what Africa needs is greater commercial and economic integration and a greater monetary balance. That's it. But simply, today, what I see is that many tell us we still need to have the guarantee on reserves because otherwise we are too attacked on our currencies. And there, I wasn't. Had I done it, they would have said to me, you are abandoning us. So we keep that because it's a guarantee of stability, but we let go of all the other obligations that came with it.
You see what he's doing? He's making it look like, we did our part. All right, Africa, it is now up to Africa. The blame, he's removing the blame completely off their head and shifting it on the head of African leaders. That is exactly what he's doing. Simply, Emmanuel Macron is trying to defend their role, France's role in Africa, reduce the blame on France, shift responsibility to our African leaders, and justify their continued influence on the continent of Africa. That is basically what Emmanuel Macron is doing here. It got a bit worse. Listen to this.
Mr. President, you have just discussed peace and security with your African counterparts. On April 25th, Bamako was attacked. The Minister of Defense assassinated. Kidal fell. The French army certainly left Mali in 2022, but it stayed there for 10 years with the sacrifices we know. In hindsight, what would you have done differently to avoid the current situation?
This is coded question. The question is coming from RFI.
God have mercy upon us.
RNG. Somebody write in the comment section. RNG. This is RNG. How do you call it? Interview, right? This is coming from RFI. RFI is saying that France have stayed there for 10 years, and then with the sacrifices that they RFI know. What sacrifice is it that RFI know want to tell us right now? What is the sacrifice that RFI know about? And you see, they use the issue of 25th April. I told you they know that they are going to have this conversation, so they practically use that thing. They did that purposely to have a solid foundation for their conversation. Let's go.
First, I think of the Malian people and what they have been enduring for so many years under the blows of terrorist groups. Then the decisions made by the authors of coup d'etat who chose to ally with private. Then Russian parastatal militias that preferred their own security over the fight against terrorism.
I'm done. France is pain. Look, France is pain. This is nothing but pain. The truth is that chairman is pain. There's so much pain in the heart. It is the French soldiers that are willing to die for Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, not the African Corps. For them, when they were in the region, they don't care about their safety or anything. They don't care about their security. They are ready to die for it. Is it by force to die for us? Ibrahim Traoré said this thing that he cannot understand. You want to come and die on our land? We said no. Don't come and die for us. We would die on our own land and protect our own land. That one too, you are pain. It become a problem to you. You are going on interview after interview. You have become a divorced wife. You have become a divorced girlfriend or divorced wife. Do you have divorced girlfriend? No. Broken-hearted girlfriend. You have become broken-hearted girlfriend, going after interview, making comment and talking Thomas. There's a movie on YouTube here called Talking Thomas, Babares. That is the only movie produced in Nollywood where Babares, Talking Thomas was sleeping. They gave him concussion so that he will forget the things that he have seen and heard. The following day, if he wake up, he will forget his memory so that he will stop talking. The man is sleeping. The whole world was shaking, waiting for his time to wake up because they are waiting. If he wake up, what is going to happen? everybody was afraid because he heard things and saw a lot of things that he's going to talk about. You have become a talking Thomas and a broken-hearted girlfriend. Anyway, family, let me not talk too much. Hit the like button for me. See you in the next episode. And don't forget to subscribe, all right? Respect.